So I'm clear in my belief that there is a U.S. interest in the future of this growing sectarian war in the Middle East. But my thoughts on this, and I think as Jim will tell you his as well, are defined by my belief that there are serious limitations about what the United States can do to affect the situation on the ground. I frankly think that the worst thing the United States can do is to openly take sides in a sectarian war in Iraq. It was one of the reasons why I was one of the first Democrats, maybe the first Democrat in the Senate, to oppose the president's plan to militarily intervene in Syria, because I worry that we have not yet necessarily learned the limits of American military power in terms of trying to influence the politics of the Middle East, a place that we still don't quite understand to this day. And to show how confusing it is, this weekend the leaders of ISIL declared the new Islamic State, and that state does not recognize these borders. They will expand it as far as it goes, but for now that state essentially is the Sunni areas of Syria and Iraq. And to expose the potential weakness, I would argue grave weakness, of American policy in this region, right now our policy in a region that knows no borders is to align ourselves on the eastern side of the conflict with the Shiite government against the Sunni insurgency. And then on the western side of the conflict, in Syria, we align ourselves with the Sunni insurgency against the Shiite autocrat, right? And as smart as you think the American military and State Department are, and I think there are some very capable, very smart, very dedicated people, trying to play both sides of a regional sectarian fight is likely impossible in the short run, the medium run, and the long run. And so I am urging severe caution when it comes to re-engaging in Iraq or upgrading our intervention in Syria. And before I turn it over to Jim, my one caution to the administration is that if the president is going to propose any new military action in Iraq, I think he has to hold himself to the same standard he held himself to in Syria. He has to come to the United States Congress for authorization. The old Iraq AUMF, the authorization for military force, is functionally obsolete at this point. That was an authorization for military force against Saddam Hussein. It does not give him the power to engage militarily against a brand new enemy in ISIL. And the 9/11 AUMF, which gave broad authority to chase Al-Qaeda, isn't operative here either. Now, ISIL in a lot of ways is worse than Al-Qaeda in terms of the tactics that they use and the damage they seek to do, but they are not technically an affiliate of Al-Qaeda any longer, and the 9/11 authorization of military force specifically limits military action to those groups aligned with Al-Qaeda. So if the president's going to do anything beyond just put military advisors on the ground, I think he has to come to Congress. And I think if he does that, he will be met with a very wary and skeptical American public of increased military intervention in the region. And I only lay the pros and cons out for you because I see both sides of this. I do. I see an American interest there, and then I struggle to understand how American military force can change the reality on the ground. And that's in part even given a preview as to where my prejudice lies on this question, that it's important for us to have this conversation. Jim and I have been close friends since we both started in the House together, Jim 2 years after I did, and I think we both rely on each other to try to sort through these complicated questions. That's why we're glad to do this together.